Hello, this is Morgan, Cassandra, and Mackenzie, and we are representing the country of Zambia. And we are here to talk about why you should invest in Zambia and what this country needs. With the population in the world expected to grow to 9 billion by 2050, we need to take control of countries to make sure that they can provide for this booming population, and we need to start with the countries that are struggling most, which is why we chose to talk about Zambia.
Zambia is experiencing right now is food insecurity and a wealth gap, weather resistance, and education within the country. There was some history and cultural issues. At this time, people do not have any or appropriate resources. Currently, there's not enough land, and they possess dilapidated technology, and there's not enough advanced training in farming techniques. Companies should take this opportunity to develop new means of farming for small agricultural areas. New technology would be a great investment, as they would help farmers be smarter with what types of food they grow and be more efficient with their production. Also, different members of the family are responsible for one aspect of securing food. Women are responsible for the subsistence farming, and men are responsible for providing cash income. This is a problem because it could lead to food shortages in the family if one member is struggling. There are few alternative sources for income, so if the men fail to get enough money for the entire family, they will suffer. This would be a great chance for a company to come in and install new technologies that would require less people to efficiently produce food. If these technologies were offered, small farms with small families would become more productive, helping the overall food security in the country. In Zambia, only the poor experience food shortages. This makes it difficult to realize the severity of the issues when the rich seem to be fine still. This comes down to the government. We must educate them on the severity of the social gap and how it is negatively affecting their country's food security. Also, agriculture only accounts for 14% of the total GDP. This shows insecurity of farming techniques. The government only focuses on large industrial companies and manufacturers at this time. They only invest in inexpensive agricultural research programs that were designed by the wealthy to please people. Fast results are achieved from these, but these were rather short-term and no long-term productivity was gained. We should convince the government to invest more money into agricultural research programs that will invest in the long run. The government has made small attempts to improve agriculture. In 1978, they worked with CGIAR to develop new technology. Once again, higher yields of crops were produced for a short period of time, but there was no sustainability. Companies must work hand in hand with the government in assisting them in developing new techniques and technologies to share with farmers across the country. They could help them develop long-term solutions using their products. Also, the government needs to focus on long-term gains rather than short ones through more research programs.
Economic barriers of Zambia is their ability to be efficient with their resources. Zambia is one of the world's least efficient countries, according to the World Bank classification, ranking 153rd out of 181 countries. Right now, they only focus on copper as a resource instead of also looking at their agricultural production for export. There's been a rise in agricultural productivity resulting from the immigration of Zimbabwean farmers to Zambia in recent years, many effective government policies which include assistance programs, good weather conditions, better access to agricultural inputs, increased private investments, and new agricultural technologies. The government will need to provide additional training and assistance in order to expand Zambia's use and exports of agricultural productions. Access to key services such as credit, marketing, and information has been problematic, especially to small-scale farmers. Given high poverty levels and low incomes, most small-scale farmers have been unable to pay for agricultural production. This would be a great time for companies to alleviate these barriers by providing financial support to local farmers to increase productivity and revenue. Not only will this benefit the farmer, but it would also benefit the economy with the ability to feed their population and to generate revenue from exports and sales. One of the major thrusts of trade policy is the promotion of exports and other than copper. We need to shift the focus of copper trade over to other agricultural products to increase the import and export rates. Shifting focus to agricultural products will also increase food supply through export while farmers work on increasing yields to feed their own communities. On the other hand, there are many exporting barriers for Zambia. High inflation rates, high production and transport costs, high cost of capital, insufficient technical knowledge, high energy costs, and low production capacity. Because they're a landlocked country with high tax burdens, it makes it difficult to increase productivity of exporting and importing goods. If a company were willing to educate farmers on the focus of producing agricultural crops for export, then they would be able to avoid these tax burdens and make profits from exporting. There are many impacts of climate change in Zambia, including decrease in agricultural productivity, increase in the deaths of wild animals, flooding, decrease in tourism, and an increased number of diseases. During the agricultural season of 2004 and 2005, 2/3 of the country lacked the much-needed rainfalls, creating 120,000 tons of food shortage and 1.2 million people starving until the next year's harvest. So to support Zambia, we need organizations to help strengthen early warning sites to adapt to climate change, promote alternative sources of livelihood, and adapt the land use practices to crops, fish, and livestock.
As a result of climate change, there are many things that this country specifically needs to focus on in order to make their country more sustainable for the future. For example, the natural resources in this country are disappearing. Due to deforestation and other events, farmers are struggling to make sure that they can keep producing crops in the future. But there are some things that this country can do if they want to remain environmentally sustainable. One of these is crop rotation. Crop rotation exchanges nutrients in water, and it helps improve declining soil quality and environmental degradation. In order to perform crop rotation, you can use crops such as wheat, clover, and cowpeas in between seasons. This will open up more markets for investors, and if they build this relationship with farmers, then they will be able to help implement these crops into their crop rotation each year, which will in turn help with soil fertility, help control weeds, diseases, insects, and will also add to biodiversity. Cover crops also work hand in hand with crop rotation, but these crops work more to slow down erosion. This helps protect soil from wind and water erosion by distributes nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and carbon. These plants use their roots to hold soil particles together, and again gives companies the chance to encourage farmers to use their products such as red clover, oats, rye, or legumes. Compost and organic material is another way to help farmers make sure that they are being environmentally sustainable. This helps improve water retention in sandy soils while improving the soil structure. Compost and organic material are also a great food source for crops, which in turn helps improve their yields in the future. Drip irrigation is also an important thing that farmers need to incorporate into their practices. Drip irrigation helps conserve water and making sure that farmers will be able to produce more in the future. As most of us know, Zambia's government does not have the best outlook on genetically modified organisms. However, in order to provide for the growing population, GMOs need to become a part of this industry in Zambia. As most of us know, Zambia is prone to many natural disasters such as droughts and floods throughout the country. However, research done in other countries have made it possible for researchers to introduce a drought and flood-resistant gene into plants. If people can convince Zambia to introduce these GMOs into their crops, it could potentially produce larger yields, which would boost the market in this country because there would be more to sell. There is one organization that has already started testing for GMOs on their crops. The Zambia National Farmers Union began testing Bt proteins on cotton. This would be a fantastic investing opportunity for companies because once the farmers see the success that these GMOs have had on their crops, they will be able to see the benefits and know that they are investing in a good opportunity. Land-grant universities are going to become crucial to helping this country produce enough food for the growing population. The country needs advancements in research about GMOs. If land-grant universities become more prevalent, this research will show. For example, Dr. Bangzinger's work with the University of Nebraska-Lincoln has created flood-resistant rice. This is something that Zambia could greatly benefit from. Farmers are not educated on proper farming techniques. The use of land-grant universities can help farmers become more educated and receive the information that they need in order to be successful. They need to teach farmers how to use GMOs effectively, how to use successful, sustainable agriculture practices, and the land-grant universities need to form relationships with producers in order to boost the sales and relationships that they can have with companies. The University of Nebraska-Lincoln partners with Bayer Crop Sciences. If a company were to invest in a land-grant university, they would be able to directly work with farmers, which in turn could invest the sales that they have in the future in Zambia.
From you is new technology, financial support for research, government liaisons to encourage the use of GMOs, and researchers who will educate the public on sustainable practices. Thank you for listening.